Good morning, afternoon, or evening, cats and dogs. Today's video comes from the lesson 8.6 guided notes on inequalities. We're going to break this down into two different videos so it doesn't become too lengthy. We're going to have numbers 1 through, I believe, 18 in the first video, and then 19 through the remaining questions in the second video. So let's begin with the first half of these guided notes. First of all, recall that an inequality is a mathematical sentence that compares quantities that are not equal. We have the less than symbol, the greater than symbol. Less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or even the not equal to symbol is an inequality, which if you have two numbers that are not equal to each other, we can put that equal sign with a slash through it. We saw that when we had equations where there was no possible solution. This chart that's in your guided notes is probably going to be one of the most important things. You have to know your inequalities. Keep in mind that your less than symbol, we're going to go through these. These are ones I would definitely study. Your less than symbol looks kind of like an L, so that's an easy way to remember it. I know back in elementary school, you probably learned the little trick with the crocodiles and the alligators, which I think is fantastic. It's a great trick to start with, but you have to know the meanings of these inequalities. Like, you should be able to look at this symbol and say, that's the less than symbol. If you're not there yet, then I would make some flashcards for yourself to help remind you of these phrases as compared to the inequality symbols. So this is our less than symbol. We sometimes also use the phrase is fewer than to represent less than. The greater than symbol does not look like an L. It's a backwards L, so that's one way you can remember this. It's is greater than. We also use the phrase is more than, and we even sometimes see the phrase exceeds. I'm going to highlight the ones that students struggle the most with. Exceeds also represents greater than, because if we say something exceeds something else, it means it has to be greater than that value. Now, the less than or equal to or greater than or equal to symbols are the ones we actually use in real life more often. So this is our less than or equal to with a little line underneath. Again, it looks kind of like an L. We also say is no more than, which students miss a lot because they see the word more, but it's no more than. So it goes the opposite direction. Is at most, again, students mistake this one a lot because they see the word most. But if we say at most 10 students can be in each class, then we want less than or equal to 10 students in the class. We also often see maximum or a limit of. This is like if you have a budget of a certain amount, or let's say we say that Julianne has $15, then she can spend less than or equal to $15. We also use the phrase cannot exceed as well. So these all represent less than or equal to. For greater than or equal to, obviously we have greater than or equal to. We also have no less than, and again, students mess that up a lot because they see the word less, but no less than is opposite. It's greater than or equal to. Is at least, again, sometimes we see the word at least and we think, well, that has to be less than or equal to. But if I say we need at least 15 students to help with roadside cleanup, we need greater than or equal to 15 students. The word minimum also represents the greater than or equal to symbols. Those are the ones that are most commonly missed or most commonly forgotten. So you'll want to focus on these. We'll see these in the entire second half of our unit when we get into some word problems. Today we're just going to be doing some basic translating inequality statements. So I want to start by writing inequalities. That's going to be our first step, our main part here today. And some hints that I have for you is to identify the variable or your unknown first. Start with that. I always put my variable on the left-hand side, so my inequality has the appropriate meaning. Then I select the appropriate inequality symbol, so you'll generally see one of these phrases somewhere in the problem or something similar that indicates what symbol we're going to use. And then write your entire inequality. So in most cases, the variable should be on the left, followed by your inequality symbol, and then the numerical value. Because a lot of times it'll say a minimum of 15. So that's greater than or equal to 15. The variable has to go on the left-hand side. We might say at most 25. So we want less than or equal to, and then the 25 is going to follow it. So the word or phrase that represents our inequality is usually followed by a number. And so the number typically is going to go on the right-hand side. All right, let's take a look at some practice problems. So I'm going to try to go through these as quickly as possible. If you feel comfortable trying them on your own and then watching the video, that's fine too. Whatever's going to work best for you. So number 1 is already done for us. It says your age is less than 7 years. So your age in this case is our unknown. Obviously, you know how old you are, but we chose the variable A. Is less than represents our inequality, and then 7 is our number. So is less than is the less than symbol. We can write A is less than 7. Now, I want to point out that I sometimes see students who are like, well, I've got less than as my inequality symbol, and then they put the A on the right-hand side, and they put 7 on the left-hand side, and they think, well, I have the right symbol. This is the less than symbol, right? But this is actually saying your age is greater than 7 years, and 7 is less than your age. That's not true. Now, if you want to write the less than symbol, or if you want to switch it around and put the variable on the right-hand side, I should say, we have to flip the inequality symbol around. So if you wrote this would be correct. This matches this guy. This is saying that 7 is greater than your age, or your age is less than 7. So you can put the variable on the right. These two are equivalent. Sometimes I have students who think, well, I can switch them around as long as I have the correct inequality symbol. It doesn't have the same meaning if you flip the variable and the number around, so be really careful with that. All right, let's take a look at question number 2. Your speed is less than or equal to 35 miles per hour. So our unknown in this case is your speed, and the inequality is going to be is less than or equal to, and then of course we've got the number 35 following that. So I chose the variable s for your speed, the less than or equal to symbol, and then the number 35. No need for labels here. That just complicates things. So S represents your speed, less than or equal to 35. All right, let's move ahead. Number 3, the bridge can carry a maximum weight of 3,500 pounds. So our unknown in this case is actually the amount of weight that the bridge can hold. So the bridge weight that we can still have or have on that bridge in total. The phrase that represents our inequality is maximum. We saw that on the inequality chart that we had. And then our number is going to be 3,500. So we have to recall that maximum means less than or equal to. I chose the variable W for the weight the bridge can hold. Maximum is less than or equal to, and of course we have our 3,500 after that. So yeah, don't really worry about the variable. If you choose a different variable, that's fine. I chose W to represent the weight. Sometimes students choose B to represent the bridge. Really, it's not the bridge that's our unknown, but the amount of weight on the bridge. Number 4, Jane's earnings were at least $85. So our unknown in this case is Jane's earnings, how much they were. And we do know that they were at least. That's our greater than or equal to symbol, followed by the number 85. So I chose E for earnings. At least is greater than or equal to, and then of course we have our 85 after that. All right, number 5, after a deposit, the amount of money in a checking account is now more than $250. So our unknown here is the amount of money in a checking account. So I chose the variable M to represent that for money, and we have now more than, or just more than. That's not no more than. You want to read carefully. More than is going to be greater than, and of course we have our number 250, which is going to go after that. So the amount of money is greater than 250. Number 6 is done for us, but let's read through it. Musical practice will last no fewer than 2 hours. Our unknown in this case is the amount of time for the musical practice. Our inequality symbol is going to be from the no fewer than, which is greater than or equal to. Then of course we have our number 2 that goes after that. So practice has to be greater than or equal to 2, in this case 2 hours. All right, number 7, the number of students attending the study party, ooh, lots of fun, cannot exceed 35. So our unknown here is the number of students attending the study party. I chose the variable S to represent that. I've already got it underlined, but cannot exceed is going to represent our inequality symbol. That's going to be the less than or equal to symbol. If it can't exceed, it can equal that, but it cannot go above it. So S is less than or equal to 35. We see this in a situation a lot of times with like occupancy for a room. Most rooms for fire safety have a maximum number of people that can be in there. So we can say the number of people in this room cannot exceed 150. So the number of people would be less than or equal to 150. So number 8 is sort of a hint at what we're going to see when we solve one-step inequalities. So our left-hand side is our variable as well as an operation. So a number decreased by 25 is going to be n minus 25. So this one's a little bit different because we have an operation in here. And then our inequality is going to come from the is no more than. So is no more than has to be less than or equal to, followed by our number of 65. So n minus 25 is less than or equal to 65. All right, number 9. Sally will receive no more than 12 gifts over the holidays. So our unknown here, it's not just Sally, but the number of gifts she's going to receive. So I chose the variable g to represent the number of gifts. Our phrase is once again no more than, so that's less than or equal to 12. And always stop and think, like, does this make sense? If G represents the number of gifts, and that's less than or equal to 12, numbers that fit that are numbers like 8 or 9 or 10. Does that also fit the statement? Sally will receive no more than 12 gifts over the holidays. Those do fit that statement. So it's an easy way you can kind of check, does this make sense? Number 10, Arjun's score on the math test exceeds 91. So our unknown in this case is Arjun's score on the math test. So we're going to choose the variable s to represent his score. Exceeds represents our inequality, and exceeds is greater than, and of course we have the number 91 following that. So his score has to be greater than 91. All right, let's move right along and take a look at numbers 11 and 12. 11, a food can be labeled low fat if it has no more than 3 grams of fat per serving. Write an inequality to describe low fat foods. So our unknown here is the number of grams of fat per serving. Sometimes I have students who want to choose like FG for fat grams. You only need to have one variable to represent one thing. So I chose F for fat. You can choose G for grams. That's fine as well. We once again see the phrase no more than. We see that a lot. That is less than or equal to, followed by the number 3. So we want the number of grams of fat to be less than or equal to 3. Number 12, a student must have at least 10 hours of instructor-assisted driving time. Write an inequality to describe this situation. So we're looking at the number of instructor-assisted driving hours, and we know the phrase at least represents our symbol, so that's greater than or equal to, followed by the number 10. So I chose the variable t for time. H for hours works as well. The amount of time, it has to be greater than or equal to for at least 10. Again, make sure it makes sense. I've seen students see the word at least and write less than or equal to. Oh, that doesn't make sense. We definitely want that student to have at least or greater than or equal to 10 hours of instructor-assisted driving time. All right, I've got 2 questions for you to try on your own, so pause the video, give these a try if you haven't already done them. When you're ready, restart the video. All right, how do we do with these? Hopefully pretty well. So number 13, at least 5 students are needed to help with Caitlin's smiles. So we're looking at the number of students who are needed to help with Caitlin's smiles. And our inequality comes from the phrase at least. And of course, we have the number 5 here. At least is greater than or equal to. So we want our number of students to be greater than or equal to 5. Number 14, a maximum of 800 runners participated in the charity race. We're looking at the number of runners who participated in the charity race. Our phrase for our inequality is maximum, and of course we have the number 800. So we want the number of runners R. Maximum is less than or equal to, so to be less than or equal to 800. All right, so I do have an activity here that I want you to try. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to try to match each of these statements with one of these 4 inequalities. This really relates or is very good for us to take a look at because they all involve the number 24, so it's not as easy as you might think to match them up. So go ahead and give them a try. When you're ready, restart the video, and we'll take a look at these. All right, so for the first one, top left, the number of students who finish the mile in under 7 minutes exceeds 24. So exceeds, we need to know, represents the greater than symbol. So that is going to be this inequality right here. Exceeds is greater than. The second one, top right, fewer than 24 people brought in items for the Humane Society drive. So the words it's going to represent, or the words that are going to represent our inequality symbol, are fewer than. So fewer than, it cannot be equal to, has to be less than. So x is less than 24. Bottom left, we have a minimum of 24 people are needed to help with the race registration. The word minimum represents our inequality symbol. So that's greater than or equal to. Let me slide that guy down there. Somehow I copied that by accident. I don't know how I did that. There we go. Let's delete that. And then finally, at most 24 students can try out for the musical on Monday. The phrase we need here is at most. That is going to be the less than or equal to symbol. All right, so the last thing we want to finish in this video with is some true or false questions. It says, for the given value, state whether each inequality is true or false. So you're going to replace the variable with the number that's provided and see if you get a true or false statement. So you can see from number 15, which is done, we get 7 is less than 5, which is not true. It's a false statement. So let's try number 16. Let's replace A with 20. It tells us that A is 20. So we're going to do 12 is greater than or equal to 20 over 2 plus 2. 20 divided by 2 is 10, and 10 plus 2 is 12. So I get 12 is greater than or equal to 12. That is a true statement. Let's try number 17. 3 plus x is less than or equal to 12. Let's replace x with 6. We get 3 plus 6 is less than or equal to 12. That's 9 is less than or equal to 12. That is going to be a true statement as well. Finally, let's take a look at number 18. Let's replace A with 36. So 14 is less than or equal to 36 over 3, which represents division, plus 1. 36 divided by 3 is 12. So we'll do 12 plus 1 to get 13. So we get 14 is less than or equal to 13. That is not true. That is a false statement. All right, thanks for listening.